The shadows of Windsor don't move by accident. They shift when something is changing. And right now, something is changing. Because while the world has been distracted, caught up in headlines, scandals, interviews, and endless speculation, something quiet, calculated, and incredibly powerful has been unfolding behind the scenes of the British royal family. Not a scandal, not a crisis, a replacement, or, at least, the beginning of one. Because what if the biggest story in the royal family right now isn't about Prince Harry, but about the person quietly stepping into the space he left behind? A name most people barely noticed, until now. James, Earl of Wessex. And once you see what's happening, you won't be able to unsee it. Because this isn't just a story about a young royal appearing at an event. This is about timing, positioning, and a signal, subtle but unmistakable, that the monarchy is already preparing for its next chapter. Let's go back to the moment everything changed. Easter Sunday, April 2026. St. George's Chapel, Windsor. On the surface, it looked like any other royal gathering. Another carefully staged appearance, another quiet tradition playing out exactly as expected. But if you were paying attention, you would have noticed something different. Someone different. Because walking into that chapel, without noise, without announcement, was a young man who had spent most of his life doing exactly the opposite of what modern royals usually do.
He stayed out of the spotlight. No social media. No headlines. No controversy.
Just quiet presence.
Until that day.
Because that day, everything shifted. James didn't just attend. He stood out. Observers noticed it immediately. The way he carried himself, the calm confidence, the way he positioned himself within the royal circle. And then came the moment that made people start asking questions. He was seen in a warm, natural conversation with Catherine, Princess of Wales.
Not forced.
Not staged. Natural. And in royal terms, that means something. Because when the future queen invests time, real time, with a younger royal, it's rarely accidental. It's a signal, a quiet endorsement. And from that moment, something became clear. James wasn't just present. He was being noticed. But here's where the story becomes even more interesting. Because James didn't just appear at the right time. He appeared at the perfect time. At a moment when the royal family is facing one of its most delicate transitions in decades. Think about it. King Charles III is still carrying out his duties, but under growing pressure. Prince William is stepping forward, taking on more responsibility than ever before. And the one person who once stood beside him, shared the spotlight with him, balanced the dynamic, is no longer there in the same way. That absence matters more than people realize. Because the monarchy doesn't just function on titles. It functions on balance, on partnerships, on trust. And when one piece is removed, something or someone has to take its place. So the question becomes,
who?
For a long time, there was no clear answer. Until now. Because what makes James different isn't just his position in the family. It's how he was raised. Unlike many royals who grow up in constant public view, James lived a life that was deliberately normal. No HRH title used publicly. No royal spotlight forced upon him. Just school, routine, privacy. A strategy carefully designed by his parents, Prince Edward and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, to keep him grounded. And now, that strategy is paying off. Because while others chased attention, James learned something far more valuable: how to exist without it. And in today's royal landscape, that's rare. Now, let's talk about the comparison everyone is starting to make. Because whether people say it openly or not, this is where the story gets controversial. For years, Prince Harry was one of the monarchy's most compelling figures. Charismatic, relatable, unpredictable. He brought energy. He brought attention. He brought connection. But when he stepped away from royal duties in 2020, he left behind something much bigger than a role. He left a gap, a space that couldn't simply be ignored. And for years, no one filled it.
Until now.
Because James represents the exact opposite of everything that created tension in recent years. No drama.
No controversy.
No conflict. Just presence.
Consistency.
And perhaps most importantly,
loyalty.
And then there's the decision that says more than any speech ever could. At 18, James had the right to fully step into royal titles, to become HRH Prince James, to embrace the status, the recognition, the power that comes with it. But he didn't.
He chose not to.
Now that might seem small, but it's not. Because in the modern monarchy, rejecting a title can be more powerful than claiming one. It sends a message. I don't need this to define me. And that message aligns perfectly with the future William is trying to build. A monarchy that feels less distant, less rigid, more human. And this is where everything connects. Because while James is stepping forward quietly, Prince William is stepping into one of the most demanding roles of his life. More responsibility, more expectation, more pressure than ever before. And with that pressure comes a need, not for more staff, not for more advisors, but for someone he can trust. Someone who understands the weight of the crown without being overwhelmed by it. Someone who doesn't compete, but supports. And right now, James fits that role perfectly. So what does this all mean? Is James replacing Harry? Not officially, not in title, but in function, in presence, in what the monarchy needs right now. That's a very different conversation. Because what we're witnessing isn't a sudden rise. It's the result of years, decades, of quiet preparation. A young royal shaped away from the spotlight, now stepping into it at exactly the right moment. Not by force, not by demand, but by timing. And here's the part that should really make you pause. In the royal world, the most powerful moves are rarely loud. They don't come with announcements. They don't come with headlines. They happen quietly, until suddenly, they're impossible to ignore. That's exactly what this feels like. Because James didn't chase attention. Attention found him. And in a system built on legacy, symbolism, and careful positioning, that might be the strongest signal of all. So now the real question isn't who James is.
You know that now.
The real question is, what happens next? Does he step further into public life? Does he become a visible support to William? Does he represent the next evolution of the monarchy?
Or
has that process already begun, and we're only just starting to notice it? Because if history has taught us anything about the royal family, it's this. The future is never announced. It's revealed.
slowly, carefully.
And often, right in front of us, while we're too busy looking somewhere else.